What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing another 2023 NBA mock draft video. In the last one, I did actually do my official lottery prediction, so I would highly recommend you guys go and check that out with who I have gone with all the lottery picks and whatnot. But in this video, I will actually be doing picks 15 to 20, and before I get into it, I would just like to preface off by saying that we don't, of course, have the official draft lottery yet, so we don't know where, some teams we picking. So the teams that I've had in the lottery, some of them might be changing a little bit now. It shouldn't affect exactly this video too much, but if you go and watch that one before you watch this one, just know that I will be basing these picks off where these teams, of course, do stand right now. Of course, with the 15th overall pick, it's actually supposed to go to Minnesota. That's where they sit on the NBA standings right now. But we know that they actually gave their pick up to Utah, which is why, I've got them going. That was, of course, in the Rudy Gobert trade and whatnot. So, again, these will be kind of course, being based off where the teams are sitting on the standings right now. And, of course, this could very much change. There are a couple of games, left to go and whatnot, but hopefully it should pretty much stay very close to what I've got going on right now. But with the 15th overall pick, we do have the Utah Jazz from the Minnesota Timberwolves. And with this pick, I've actually got them selecting a player who I think would be really beneficial for their team in Nick Smith Jr., who I think makes a whole lot of sense. I previously had them selecting Keontae George with their own pick, who is, of course, going to be a shooting guard in this draft. And again, he has a lot of really nice potential that can help the Utah Jazz out. And it's just a big thing right now where the Jazz really need some guards. And I genuinely think with their, first pick they've got, they can find their shooting guard. But with the next one, I think they can find their point guard in Nick Smith, who I guess has been kind of talked about being more of a combo guard so far. But I definitely feel like he has a lot of really nice point guard abilities in him and could definitely start there in the long-term future. He's a 6'4", 6'5" type of guy who is also really, really lanky and long. It feels kind of awkward to say that about a man, but this dude is 6'9" and has a really nice three-point jumper that's really smooth. There's only a couple of knocks on his game so far, as his frame isn't exactly that great, and it does look like he needs to add quite a bit more weight, especially if he wants to fit into, the NBA. So that can definitely be a rough start for him if he doesn't do that. But I think as time will go on, it will definitely work out. He's a bit more of a project type of player in terms of that. Doesn't exactly have that NBA built body yet, but if you get him in with some trainers and get that diet going, he could be a really, nice player in terms of a guy who still needs to develop, though. He's also been said that he's battled some knee issues in the past, which has slowed him down, which isn't exactly that great, but it is said that he's lights out with the ball, a pretty nice defender, and it is kind of being compared to a bit of Jaden Ivey here and there as well, I've been hearing, which is an absolutely awesome comparison. I really like Jaden Ivey as a player. I think he's helped the Detroit Pistons out quite a bit and has been pretty serviceable for them so far. He's the type of guy who can definitely score at that point guard position, but he can guard the shooting guard and guard the point guard while still being a pretty effective playmaker or so. And I think this will come in handy with Utah. If you partner him up with Keontae George, you've basically got two 6'4", 6'5", guards who I think are going to feed off each other really well defensively. They're both pretty good scorers who have decent jump shots. I just think, Nick Smith, he probably doesn't have that NBA built ready frame yet, and definitely, has had his injury issues, but I think would be a nice player for this Utah Jazz team to probably select. With the 16th overall pick, though, I do have the Atlanta Hawks, and the Atlanta Hawks are a bit more of a challenge, I think. There's definitely a couple things they need, but I'm not too sure if they can really fix a lot of this with the draft. So I wouldn't be surprised if they traded this pick, but at the time making this video, I've just kind of got them best available right now, which is Jordan Hawkins, I believe, who's a 6'5" shooting guard. It's being said that Hawkins is one of the better three-point shooters in the draft class, who has incredibly great, movement around that three-point line and knows how to get open, and he's really good at coming off screens. I just figured he would kind of fit well with a DeJounte Murray or a Trae Young. I think what they're going to be going for if they do take a draft player is a bit of maybe that type of role player that can fit what Kevin Huerter kind of left. I feel like Kevin Huerter low-key left a bigger hole than what the Atlanta Hawks were intending. I think they thought he wasn't as important to their team, and they kind of let him walk. Well, they did trade him, I believe, to the Sacramento Kings, but they would have let him walk anyway and whatnot. So I think losing a really good three-point shooter like Huerter, who can feed off a guy like Trae Young and, DeJounte Murray, definitely hurt them quite a bit. And if you bring in a dude like Jordan Hawkins, I think that's a pretty decent idea as well. The other thing is Jordan Hawkins is being said that he actually might have a potential to be a really nice shot creator one day, which I also feel like helps. If DeJounte Murray's shot creating and shooting isn't going that well on a particular night, which has been a bit of a theme so far this season, it's really just left to Trae Young to kind of do everything, and they don't exactly have a high profile scorer off the bench. So I feel like if you bring in a dude like Jordan Hawkins, he might be able to get good minutes as a shooting guard or small forward, where if you need him to be a three-point shooter, 3-and-D type of guy, he can do it. But if you need him to be a scorer, he might be able to do that part as well. In fact, one of the comparisons he's actually been listed to was Anthony Simons. It's being said that he's really got a good dribble drive game, where he can potentially create his own shots. He's got a really nice, solid defensive game as well. It's just kind of said that his frame isn't exactly great, and he kind of follows a similar thing where his body might not be NBA ready yet, similar to the previous pick that I had in Nick Smith Jr. There's some people saying as well that teams might like to slot him into being a small forward in the NBA, and being 6'5" is a very big concern. That's pretty small for your prototypical type of small forward, and we've seen guys like Isaac Okoro kind of struggle with that in the NBA, where an Isaac Okoro could easily go and lock up Jalen Brunson. He can go and lock up I hope that I haven't said that too soon, because the Cavs play the Knicks in the playoffs so soon, so I'm not sure about that. But also, Isaac Okoro has been known he can be able to lock up a dude like Bradley Beal. But he's struggled on guys like LeBron James and whatnot in his NBA career, just being too small at that small forward position. Will Jordan Hawkins kind of fit in that same mold that Okoro has struggled with? I'm not sure. Okoro still has a lot of time to, resurrect it, and he's been much better defensively in that kind of regard, especially this season. His three-point jump shot's finally starting to crack down. I think Jordan Hawkins might see a similar struggle, but if he gets a lot of shooting guard minutes, I'm sure him and Bogdan Bogdanovic can maybe tackle, how that shooting guard, small forward, wing type of minutes. But yeah, it's definitely an issue. We know Bogey has struggled with getting on the court, so that's another thing. You bring in Hawkins, he kind of fills in for the minutes that Bogdanovic kind of lacks with. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting thing to see how this, of course, does go. And I do think it's a smart pick by the Atlanta Hawks, but I wouldn't be surprised if they traded this pick on as well. Now, with the 17th overall pick, we do have the Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm not going to lie, I always manage to forget how to say this guy's name, and I don't know, the pronunciation, I've heard 800 different people pronounce this guy's name different, but I'm probably going to pronounce his name different 800 different times in this video as well. But that is Rayan Rupert, who is actually coming out of the New Zealand Breakers in the NBL. I definitely know I didn't say that right then. I feel like I really didn't. It's very upsetting, but just live with it, guys. But yeah, I'm just going to be calling him Rupert for this video because I've already forgotten how to say his first name. But anyway, I've watched this guy in the NBL, and he's a really, really nice player. As a guy who is from Australia myself, it's really good that a lot of these players are coming from their countries and playing in the NBL to play for these teams. And yeah, we've seen Ousmane Dieng from the Oklahoma City Thunder be quite successful in doing this. He actually previously played for the New Zealand Breakers as well, and ended up getting drafted in the top 15 picks, I believe, to Oklahoma. I think Rupert, another guy who's also from France, who also plays for the New Zealand Breakers, I feel like he's going to try and imitate what Dieng has been able to do and accomplish, and that's why I think he went to New Zealand and whatnot. He's also being compared to another French guy in Nicolas Batum, who has had a very, who's had a very great career and an underrated one, I think. A lot of this guy was, for most of his career, was called an overpaid player, especially on the Charlotte Hornets, but now he's been able to kind of carve out a 10 or so year career that looks like it's going to go on for a long more time, and he's been a very solid contributor for this Los Angeles Clippers team, and I actually like this comparison. You're looking at a dude who's much taller, who can definitely smash out those three-point shots, really kind of switch from 1 to 4, which is a thing that people don't talk about in Batum's game enough. He's not really the fastest guy out there, but he literally played shooting guard on the Charlotte Hornets, and then went over to the Los Angeles Clippers and played power forward. From what I'm hearing, Rupert definitely has the ability where he can maybe be able to do that as well. So his defensive game, and I think utility-wise, he's a very, very good player to potentially have on that court. He definitely embraces that positionless basketball type of thing, and he adds some height into a Los Angeles Lakers team that definitely struggled for height, especially in this last season or so. Again, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. If you put a three-point shooter alongside LeBron, who can switch from 1 to 4 any given time, it's going to be serviceable. It's just very obvious, and I think this is what he's going to like. Now, I believe he's a bit smaller than Dieng. He is 6'7", and he is listed as a shooting guard. But hey, as I said earlier, his comparison is Batum. Batum's a dude who was a shooting guard that skipped the small forward process and went straight to being a power forward. It's being said that Rupert is a prototypical 3-and-D wing with great length and a lot of versatility. He slides his feet well and has great lateral movement and overall agility. His quick hands and get a lot of deflections and steal. He's not yet a very consistent three-point shooter, but has the ability to be a nice floor spacer in the next level. It's also said that his playmaking abilities are a bit underrated, and he definitely has some untapped potential in potentially initiating an offense. So yeah, I think this is a really good idea to add to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a smart move, and I think it's someone who can fit well with LeBron and whatnot. It's a taller wing type of player who can add that defense that the Los Angeles Lakers desperately struggled with for a lot of this most recent season. But most importantly, if his three-point shooting stays consistent, who wouldn't want a 6'7", 3-and-D type of wing who maybe has the potential to move on to the small forward, power forward type of, position? Could it happen? I'm not exactly too sure. I think there's a lot of opportunity for this, and I think the Los Angeles Lakers will be keeping a very close eye on him. Now, moving on, of course, from this, we're going to be going to the Houston Rockets at pick 18, who have Jalen Hood-Schifino, who I have them taking. This was an extremely hard pick, because I've already got the Houston Rockets taking a point guard, obviously, with the best point guard we know in the draft, in Scoot Henderson. But I saw Jalen Hood-Schifino on this list, and I was thinking, damn, he can't fall down any further. I just can't let it happen. He's too good of a player. And the reality is, he's not your prototypical type of point guard. He's actually 6'6". So I definitely feel like he could be a shooting guard, small forward in the NBA as well. And it's even being said, he's definitely more of a combo guard than just your strict point guard. But he definitely, I think, has preferred to play there in the most recent time. The reality is, though, the Houston Rockets are not really in a situation to be picky. Look, 2 point guards in the one draft is probably not great. But if you draft Scoot Henderson, you're probably going to be moving on from Kevin Porter Jr., and I don't think they really have a good backup point guard anyway. So if you get in Hood Schifino, the reality is you're bringing in a 6'6" dude who not only can play point guard, but he can play backup shooting guard minutes, he can play backup small forward minutes as well, and he's best available. It's being said that he's a rock solid guard who's best playing on the ball, facilitating the offense and being a glue guy on both ends of the court. He's being said that he's a really good defender and a fierce competitor, something that the Houston Rockets don't exactly have a lot of. So if you add this guy, you can bring in a dude who can guard 1 through 3, really good defense, and could maybe control the offense when, off the bench, and when Scoot Henderson, of course, goes on that bench. It's being said that he's an extremely aggressive defender who takes pride in shutting down opposing guards. His defensive traits and abilities should translate extremely well to the NBA. It's said that he has a pretty good looking jump shot, but he has a bit of inconsistency hitting that 3 ball and is a below average free throw shooter as well. It's definitely his biggest area of growth in the league, being said that he needs to get that 3-point shot consistent and definitely needs to start hitting those free throws. But I think if you're the Houston Rockets and you have a lot of time to experiment, if you get lucky enough to have Scoot Henderson as your new starting point guard, he can definitely run the offense there. But then, of course, you can also bring, I think, Hood Schifino potentially off the bench to do his thing, get the ball in his hands, and of course, he can help defend. Look, he's probably not going to be the greatest off-ball, type of guy, just because he can't really shoot that well. But there's still a way where he and Scoot Henderson, I think, could also share the court together. Look, he and Scoot Henderson could play, I think, a bit of a double guard system, definitely at a lot of times. Anyway, you'll have Scoot Henderson defending the 1, and of course, Hood Schifino defending the 2. But then on offense, you might have the ball more in Hood Schifino's type of hands because he can play make really well. And then you might have Henderson play a bit of off ball when he's getting tired and whatnot. And I think Henderson definitely has the ability to do that as well, being an extremely athletic shot creator who can definitely hit a catch and shoot shot or 2. So this makes a whole lot of sense in my opinion for the Houston Rockets to do. I don't think just because you've already drafted a guard that it should shy you away from drafting another point guard. I think that this guy fits in with what the Houston Rockets need. They desperately need defense and playmaking and just a floor general in general. I think this just makes a really, good idea. And yeah, look, you might get some critics and you might get some eye rolls. You've drafted 2 point guards. But hey, I actually really like this idea in my opinion. Now, moving on to pick 19, we actually have the Golden State Warriors, who I'm not exactly too sure if they're going to be really drafting a player with this pick as well. They definitely could, I think, trade this pick. I mean, it would make a lot of sense, but in saying all that, I've decided to kind of take a player who I think fits their system in Bryce Sensabaugh, who I just think makes a whole lot of sense for this team as well. You're looking at a 6'6" wing player who's a really nice 3-point shooter who, let's be honest here, the Golden State Warriors absolutely love. They created the 6'6" extremely good 3-point shooter in Klay Thompson, of course. It's being said that Sensabaugh is an extremely good 6'6" combo forward with very high skill level. He's a walking bucket who's really able to create his own shot, but is extremely good from the mid-range and can definitely shoot a 3 here and there. It's being said that he has a solid NBA type of build and has a ton of natural power. He has advanced ball handling for his size and is very quick on the first step, and he also excels at scoring through contact. It's being said that one of the best things about his game though is he has a beautiful jump shot and is extremely accurate. I just think, yeah, if you hear that and you're the Golden State Warriors, you think twice about maybe trading this pick. You're probably sitting there and you're like, damn, we got a guy here who could come in and really do what our system has been able to do so greatly for so many years right now. And that's come in, shoot threes, be a decent shot creator, but just space the floor out. Like, there's a reality. If this dude, his defense seems to be okay, but because he's such a big body and whatnot, I have no worries or trouble with this Ohio State player translating his game into the NBA. My theory is, who says you couldn't see a time where you maybe see something real small ball of Steph Curry at point guard, Klay Thompson at shooting guard, DiVincenzo like at small forward, of course, their new Ohio State player at power forward maybe, and a Draymond Green at center. Could you imagine Draymond Green playmaking to these 4 sharpshooters who are all capable of defending their own player, switching onto a different player here and there? Maybe not Steph, but he makes up for it in other things, I promise. But being able to switch from like basically 2 from 4, which a lot of these guys can do, and just hit that 3 ball, whether it's, you know, or it just shot create, or on the catch and shoot, whatever it is. Whereas the mid-range, the 3-point shot, or even from the free throw line, all of these guys can do exactly that. This is kind of just a match made in heaven for the Golden State Warriors. I definitely think if you're the Warriors and you see this guy sitting on the draft board, you're thinking, look, we could maybe trade him for another role player like a Dante DiVincenzo, that 8 to 12 million type of player who could be a serviceable type of role player. We could maybe trade our pick for that type of player, or we could go and, you know, be a little bit, I think, risky, and go and draft an Ohio State dude named Bryce Sensabaugh at this pick, but he just fits in with our system. Get him in, see how he goes, and I think that's what the Warriors could definitely decide to do. He won't start, of course. They've still got Wiggins. I still think they're going to bring back Draymond in free agency. I know it's a big consensus. He's probably going to leave, but Draymond's just done so much for this team. He's so crucial to the way players like Steph Curry and whatnot play. I think you got to keep Draymond in the team, hopefully, for them. And this just makes a whole lot of sense, in my opinion. And look, you bring in this type of dude, he might not be able to start just yet, because you've already got so many good players starting here and there. But my way of thinking is, you can bring this dude off the bench. He can play the 10 to 20 minutes per night off the bench, give you those serviceable minutes, hopefully accurate 3-point shooting, nice mid-range shot, just space the floor out in general. And I think this makes a whole lot of sense if you're a Golden State Warriors fan, and from a Golden State Warriors point of view. Now, moving on to the last pick of this, what I've got going on right now, I've got the Miami Heat, and I will actually be selecting Noah Clowney, who has definitely been kind of said to be a bit more of a project player, I think, going into this draft. But if we're looking at Noah Clowney, I actually think he really fits in a lot of what that Miami Heat team needs, and that's just a power forward. I mean, they've been playing Kevin Love at power forward, and they've had a bit more success. I think Kevin Love actually had a 20-point or so game the other day, which was pretty impressive for the old fella, and he's actually looking a lot better than he did with the Cleveland Cavaliers, this first half of the season. He's looking a bit better with this Miami Heat team right now, but I think they need a power forward like Noah Clowney who can just come in and take some of the heat off Bam Adebayo. I don't think it's truly appreciated how underrated Bam Adebayo is right now, because Bam has to do so much. The Miami Heat's backup centers are pretty bad. You got Dwayne Dedmon there, who's just, he's average. He's definitely just an average player. And you look at their power forward depth, for most of the season, they were playing one of the Martin brothers there, who's definitely not a power forward. Even though I really like him and I think he's a good player, he's a small forward. So they went out, got Kevin Love, but I think that's a bit of a short-term solution. I think Kevin Love next season will, hopefully for their sake, just be a nice role player off the bench. They desperately need to find their starting power forward. I think they can do it in free agency. I always thought they should have never let Jay Crowder walk. They let Crowder walk to bring in PJ Tucker. I thought that was a weird decision. Crowder went to Phoenix and played well there. Now he's at the Bucks. I think Crowder would be a cheap option who you could bring back to try and start. But if you want to bring in a younger dude, Noah Clowney actually would help. He's a 6'10" guy who's an extremely good rebounder, it looks like. So he'll be able to take, I think, a lot of the pressure off Bam Adebayo when it does come to rebounding here and there. It's being said that he's a pretty decent defender, but a really nice, solid shot blocker. Pretty good athletically and has a good motor. Can definitely, go the game there. His biggest pro, though, seems to be has a lot of potential of being a really good defensive type of rebounder. I think I would like to actually compare him to a bit of Jared Vanderbilt from the Los Angeles Lakers. A guy who's a pretty average shooter, but definitely makes up for it with his extremely good hustle and terrific defense, but can also get a really nice board and even play small ball center. I definitely think as Noah Clowney gets a little bit older and progresses his game, he could very much take this to the next level and I think help out this Miami Heat team. Some of the weaknesses that's being said, though, is that he's not a great ball handler and he can be kind of prone to the good old turnover here and there, which isn't great. He has sometimes that undisciplined defense by giving away a foul. But that's what I'm just saying. This guy's a bit more of a kind of a project player who could be very good in the long term. And then some people say that his shooting does need a bit of improvement. But my theory and the way that I'm thinking about this is if that you're the Miami Heat, you don't need a guy to be an extremely good shooter. You don't need a guy to be a good ball handler or anything like that. You just need a guy who can come in and help Bam Adebayo out. Give this guy a bit of a chill pill to not have to go, off every single game. A guy who can help out when it does come to rebounding. A guy who can help Bam guard the power forward and center position. A dude who can maybe switch from there and whatnot. And of course, just get the rebound and be good defensively. Of course, I do think the Heat need another shooter or two. But they've still got players here and there like Martin and like Kevin Love now and like Hero who are really good shooters. I still think maybe adding a dude like a Jay Crowder would be a smart decision so you don't have to start Noah Clowney just yet. But I don't think it would be the worst idea to give a dude like Noah Clowney, a young guy, go at that starting power forward position where he can come help rebound, he can come help, of course, be really good defensively, which is what the Miami Heat system is known to be for quite a bit. But of course, just to develop alongside Bam Adebayo and just give the guy a hand because, Bam's next best option at that power forward and center position are Kevin Love and Dwayne Dedmon. Two dudes who are well past their prime and don't exactly move that great out there on the court. So bringing in a dude like Noah Clowney, I think actually makes a lot of sense and helps them out, especially in the long term. It's a positional pick that makes a lot of sense, and you're giving a young kid a go who has a lot of potential, in the league. You don't have to start him straight away. It's an option, but you could maybe bring in a dude like Jay Crowder, who you already know fits in with your team. He literally helps you guys get to a final series. Really good defensively, underrated defender, and a good three-point shooter. You can start him, maybe bring Clowney off the bench, and he can watch Jay Crowder and how he plays his game and maybe develop into something similar. So of course, I would definitely really like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions down below. Do you guys agree with my mock draft or do you guys not? I would very much like to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe to my, my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channel and check out my podcast as well, which will be down below if you haven't already. I'll be linking them all there, but most importantly, just comment what you guys think and whatnot. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.